Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any adjustments to the agenda? Nope. Seeing none. Our public does not appear to be here tonight.
Okay by me?
So I guess there probably is no public comment unless there's somebody invisible that I don't see. Oh, is there a public online?
Don, I don't know if...
Huh.
Don, do you have any comment? I think we're good.
Okay, moving right along. Can we have approval of the minutes from, first of all, December 16th?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And now the minutes from January 13th, last Tuesday.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All right. Correspondence, do we have any correspondence? Looks like we don't have any correspondence. Board comment, anybody have anything they wanted to say? Boy, moving right along. Celebration of learning, yes.
That's me, and did you get the link, Calvin? Fabulous. It's heavy on the words because people who do words all day long help me with this. So this highlights our intervention staff, and so I gave you a hard copy so you can look along with me as I read. I initially wanted to highlight our intervention staff and the work they do, and we're going to start just with intervention staff because there's so much just about them. And I think it's wonderful tonight to do this because when we eventually look at our academic data report, these are the people that are working directly with our kids that are have the hardest time learning in our schools. So I just want to give you a little insight into them. So this year, our elementary intervention team has engaged in intentional collaborative work to support students' academic growth and social emotional development. The team composed of math and reading interventionists, special educators, school counselors, and more works cohesively to identify student needs, design targeted interventions, and ensure consistent, meaningful support across settings. So our first one is Carol Harrington, who it is not highlighted here, but has been here so long. She was Jamie Canarney's teacher.
Right.
And I'm just going to
Pretty good.
hone right in on, for each person, the why this work matters to me and a moment impact this year. So for her, she says, I believe every student can grow into a confident reader. I struggled with reading as a child, and a skilled tutor helped me make 3 years of progress in just 6 months. That experience shaped my belief in targeted support. Reading unlocks learning and helping students find that they find that key find that I can't read. Students find that brings purpose to my life. Moment impact this year, one student with high anxiety is now slowing down, looking at whole words and reading consonant vowel consonant words with strong accuracy. Another moment came when a parent shared that the skills her son learned with me helped him succeed in all of his classes. Moments like this help me remind me why I love this work. Next is Stephanie Cronin. She's also been with us for quite a while, since 2003. She works on the Bethel campus. Why this work matters to her: every child can grow as a reader with the right support. When students feel genuinely cared for, even the most hesitant learners begin to believe in themselves, and that belief opens the door to real progress. A moment of impact this year for her was watching students track their own reading growth. This excitement is contagious, and their encouragement of one another creates a joyful, motivating space for learning. Next is Crystal Lumbro. She's like the newest on our intervention team, math interventionist, and we've known her though for a long time as a substitute before that. Why this work matters to me: this work is important to me because I believe every student should feel capable of succeeding in math, regardless of their current abilities. Math is a fundamental skill that we encounter every day, whether it's in cooking, telling time, or shopping. This year, a moment of impact for her was when a student began the year feeling that she couldn't do any math. And at this point, she not only engages with the materials, but is also able to explain her reasoning to her classmates. Her confidence in math, as well as in other areas of school, has increased dramatically. Jamie Rainville, who was one of our classroom teachers for many years, this year has transitioned into the intervention. So why this matters to her is that she knows the profound impact of feeling seen, valued, and capable as a learner. As a high school student, there were times when school felt overwhelming. However, her guidance counselor and math teacher made her feel important and provided support during challenging moments. Their belief in me transformed my path. Now, as an educator, I witnessed the same influence in my work. Teaching is about more than just academics. It's about fostering confidence, instilling joy in learning, and being a steady, caring presence that helps students believe in themselves. So this year, even though she was focusing on math intervention, her highlight has been working on her very first literacy intervention students. After just a week of intervention, one student eagerly approached her homeroom teacher during lunch to showcase the strategy she was using to spell sight words. She proudly shared her newfound knowledge, and then returning to her friends explained, this is why I go to Miss Rainville. She's teaching me how to read, and it is fun. This moment served as a powerful reminder that when students experience success, confidence, and joy in their learning, the impact reaches far beyond the intervention space and contributes to their identity as readers. Mr. Belke, one of our special educators in Royalton, by sharing my knowledge, I aim to support children in becoming confident, curious, and lifelong learners. At a moment of impact this year, first graders leaping from reading learn sounds, being able to blend sounds independently, to reading words within text. Next is Kylie Edwards. She was with us in Royalton in our alternative classroom, moved away and came back to us. And so she's here on the Bethel campus as a special educator. So why this work matters to me: this work is significant to me because each of our students is a vital part of our learning community. Students with complex profiles deserve rigorous and meaningful educational experiences. Every student should feel a sense of belonging and importance within our school community. As a special educator, I strive daily to provide tailored learning opportunities that address individual needs, allowing them to advance in their education. Moment of impact this year: she's been working with a 5th grade student who transferred from another school. At the beginning of the year, the student recognized only 16 letter sounds and could identify 3 sight words. During our initial conversation, the student shared feelings of sadness and fear about never being able to read. I assured them that together we would transform them into a reader, provided they show up each day and work and be challenged. We both committed to that agreement, and as a result, the student now knows all letter sounds and digraphs, can identify 43 sight words, and is reading decodable text. They're also taking greater risks in their reading, both during our sessions and in the classroom. And then we're going to highlight our 2 school counselors who are also integral part of the team. So Ms. Pringle, who is school counselor in Royalton, has worked in a couple different capacities within our SU, but has been in Royalton for a bit. Why this work matters to me: being a school counselor holds great significance for me because children represent our future, and their emotional well-being is crucial to their overall success. When students feel supported and understood, they are more capable of learning, forming healthy relationships, and overcoming challenges. I cherish the opportunities to collaborate with families and school staff to create a safe, nurturing environment where children can cultivate the emotional skills necessary for thriving both in school and in life. Moment of impact this year was during a Character Strong lesson, which is a school guidance counselor lesson that she does in the classroom on self-regulation. Students practiced identifying their feelings, selecting calming strategies. Later that week, a teacher reported that a student who was frequently feeling overwhelmed had independently requested a break utilizing a breathing technique instead of becoming shut down. When I checked in on the student, they said, "I remembered what we practiced." Witnessing a student apply these skills in real classroom situations highlights the profound impact that learning emotional tools can have on their day and their self-confidence. And last but not least, Sage, who's new to us this year, is a school counselor in Bethel. It's lovely having a full-time school counselor this year. Why this work matters to me: when I was in school, I had a great connection with my school counselor. I recognized how much her support helped me become the person I am today. I wanted to help students in the same way. On my journey to become a school counselor, I had the opportunity to work with students from diverse backgrounds. This work reaffirmed my commitment to serving all students. I am passionate about advocacy and removing systematic barriers to students' education. My goal is to help every student discover their best self so they can succeed in school and at any dreams they have for their future. I believe every student deserves to feel seen, supported, and capable of success. As a school counselor, I am motivated to create safe, inclusive spaces where students can grow academically, socially, and emotionally. This role allows me to not only support students, but also work towards systematic change that promotes equity and access for all. Moment of impact this year: I was meeting regularly with a student to help them navigate his emotions and practice self-regulation techniques. He was quite knowledgeable about breathing exercises and even introduced me to some new ones. However, he still struggled to apply these techniques during times of distress. One day when I went to meet with him, he appeared emotionally elevated. This presented an opportunity for us to discuss his feelings and practice techniques together. I suggested having a visual reminder for his breathing exercises, and his face lit up with enthusiasm. He chose pictures for the techniques he knew, and we collaborated to create breathing cards for him. A few days later, he returned to my office excited to share that the cards were helping him, and he had even thought of new techniques he wanted to add. So those are just a few of our helpers. There's more, but those are the head honchos in our intervention team in the elementary. So, thank you.
This is wonderful. I wish we could have this for every teacher so that we could get to know each of the teachers. I wonder what the chances are that we could ever convince people to do this for us.
In
I would
little
love a
bites, I can
packet.
get there.
This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the goal would be maybe also them highlighting some of the programs I use, because I think that would be great as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Reports to the board, superintendent.
So you have my report in hand. We're certainly in the thick of budgets. I think the last two for our March districts that are voting will be approved tonight, fingers crossed. And then I reported on the overall 3 revised strategic plan goals, just like your principals did within their written report. You're going to get an academic data report from the principals tonight. I was able to attend, along with some board members across the SU, some senior project, capstone projects today at the high school, which was a pleasure. I was able to join all SU faculty on Friday, but specifically your high school faculty on Friday afternoon as well, to talk about how can we better leverage our new SIS system to better communicate with families by utilizing that technology to making it more efficient for them, along with talking about next steps that the departments will be taking to think about how can we work to provide more opportunities for kids, better recruit tuition students, and get in better compliance with minimum class sizes. That work's just starting, but I think we had a really good and productive, probably hour and a half conversation in regards to that on Friday afternoon. I've been out in the community a great deal, talking to folks about Act 73, and starting to lay some groundwork about some of the challenges we have in the current budget season. You all should be getting an SU-wide newsletter in your mailboxes soon. I know it's at the printer. And the mailing labels were approved early last week, so some folks should start seeing that in their mailboxes as early as within the next couple days. Joined Senate Ed last week, and also joined Muriel Weinberger, the former mayor of Burlington, with his group, Let's Build Homes, to talk about the need for proactive work around building more housing throughout the state to increase opportunities for families to move to the state and or stay within the state, to work toward filling our schools and creating a stronger workforce. In Grand List, with the idea being we want vibrant communities across the state, not schools closing in ghost towns in rural parts of Vermont. So I did, I guess, get on CAX yesterday for that work, which was a good soundbite for the work we're trying to do with Act 73. I'll have a bunch of Act 73 updates for you all under that discussion item. And the RSCA did testify today as well. I haven't had a chance to watch that testimony yet in front of Senate Education. And then also just want to highlight that the high school band and chorus, there's going to be some groups of students that are going to go up to the State House on the morning of the 30th, because we have an early release day, to perform in the cafeteria during the Rural Education Day at the State House, along with some middle school students, specifically some student ambassadors, along with some teachers, to demonstrate the learning that we do in regards to experiential learning here at the middle school. And we're going to be highlighting the canoes that were built here last year too, and the project that was done that way.
Awesome.
So that will be at the State House as well. So a shout out to our teachers and administration for making that possible.
Yeah. Any questions for Jamie? Oh, that sounds awesome. Okay, principals.
Okay. Well, good evening, folks. I'm going to start by just highlighting a couple of things in my principal's report. As Superintendent Canardi mentioned, we are shifting what we report out on. I'm going to ask for your grace as I start to speak through that language. A couple of things I'd like to point out. Under our goal of linking Portrait of a Learner attributes to academics, some of that real intentional work continues. I'll give you a concrete example. Last Friday, I spent the afternoon with our Global SIT teachers across the SU. So that's a group of 4 people. We were joined by a world language teacher, looking at not only how what they're already doing and what they plan on doing aligns with Portrait of a Learner in addition to their core standards, but also how that translates into a middle school arc. We looked at a curricular map for 3 years in our situation, 6th through 8th grade. For Colin over in Newton, 5 through 8, looking at that, how it unifies the message and works within their own proficiencies. I do want to correct something I wrote in the next line. I did not mean to give the impression that our essentials teachers do not have a rigorous set of standardized, of standards to work from or prioritize proficiency indicators or performance indicators. Some of them, outdoor education, for example, relied heavily on Portrait of a Learner attributes in their reporting out because not all of them have the benefit of years of that curriculum being built statewide with expectations. But many of them do use, again, rigorous standards and proficiencies from their own professional organizations. So I wanted to clarify that. I did want to point out that in our Flexible Pathways program, one of the ways we're seeking to really embody the community school model is continuing to move that program in a direction so that student deliverables are often aligned to what kind of community service tasks they can perform. So gearing more and more of their curiosity projects, of their work products towards interacting with community agencies such as the food bank, and also widening, even more so than the last couple of years, the kinds of guest speakers speaking to singular experiences through the eyes of an Olympian to someone who has a job that could pay well right out of high school, a wide variety of professions and interests in that program. Again, Jamie mentioned, I'm looking to take a group to the State House to show off some of the things that happen in and outside of the classroom through experiential learning. I do want to point out that our Student Ambassador program continues to evolve and breathe new life into itself. We have another community conversation or opportunity to have cannoli and coffee with me this coming Thursday. Our student ambassadors are hanging around afterwards and linking it between school and evening activities in our basketball games, try and see what kind of slice of the community we can interact with there. And we will have a student ambassador on hand with us, as they are the ones who most directly through student voice are speaking to what this school is doing programmatically or culture-wise to attract and retain students from a wide variety of schools. Shall we handle our academic as a separate piece?
Well, the only thing is I just noticed it's not actually in here, so I'm wondering if we should go photocopy it for the board.
I'm sorry, did it get left out of the packet?
I don't see it in there. So if you want,
I will go run and make copies of that.
I have a printout of it if you want to run it.
Yep.
And we'll keep highlighting. Mine are pretty brief. I will note that the first picture on the top, autocorrect just will not allow me to type the word foundations, and every time wants to change it to foundations. But the program we do use is fundations, so we keep the fun foundations here. So I would say the 2 highlights I wanted to hit is we will eventually have some videos to maybe share a few with you because our mixed group Wildcat groups are videoing to refresh our expectations on all different areas of the school, what to do and what not to do. It's been a month of preparing them, but they're really adorable. And we're excited because the next assembly will be rolling them out to everybody so that everyone can see how to, walk to the bathroom or not walk to the bathroom or behave in assembly or not behave in assembly. So that's, I think the adding the videoing of it all has made it even more exciting. Some of them won't let me in while they're videoing, so it's like going to be really exciting. And then the next thing, I think, for me, the biggest highlight is we got the winter activities off the ground with, new this year, heading to Pico, which I think has been a really fabulous pivot for everybody, because I think it's much more cost effective, and I think the training of the people there seems to be really well done. So those are my two big highlights, although there's a lot in here if you read in here and look at the pictures, because I think the pictures should say even more without words.
So for the high school, you have my report. This is a big week at the high school. We're in midterm exams, which I think is really important for high school students to have that experience, formality, and a little different environment in the school. It feels different, and I think it does help prepare students for college. So I like that. And then we fold into that our senior capstone presentations, which the superintendent alluded to earlier. I was able to sit in on 2 of those presentations today, and it's just really exciting to see just the authentic learning, the enthusiasm that comes out, and the passion that has come out for these students. So I hope you get a chance to pop over to the high school and visit at least one of those this week. Next week, thanks to our partners down at Key Chevrolet, we have a group coming to the high school called Sweethearts and Heroes. They're going to share some messages around respect, support, and hopefulness in a school-wide assembly, and then they'll be with us for all of Monday and Tuesday and do specific work within our advisory groups, helping us facilitate some circles and really diving deep into our culture. So looking forward to that opportunity. I've heard great things about them from other administrators and school personnel around the state that have gotten to experience their work. And this, Jamie also spoke about our professional development day on last Friday, where we focused on learning some new communication tools through Alma to help teachers and parents really be connected, understand what's going on. There's some efficiencies there that I think teachers are just beginning to realize that will really help that pretty significantly. And then we spent a lot of time wrapping our heads around Act 73, the landscape, and particularly how are we going to address the state's minimum class size expectations of 18 students in class. And I have to say that my faculty is really excited and passionate about this work. I think they felt re-energized and supported and affirmed by the board's kind of decision to ask us to go back and present a budget that had no cuts to FTEs this week. And there's some really creative ideas that are coming out that I look forward to working with them over the next couple months to put together our program of studies and build a schedule that kind of supports student learning and growth. So.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Do we have a report from Tara, or?
Academic reports still.
Oh, yeah.
So
Thanks.
now you have, go ahead.
I can just keep talking about the high school. The winter academic data stayed pretty flat for the high school. No big jumps, no big dips, and so it's kind of steady ahead at the high school. We haven't had, our data team agenda got reshuffled, and so we weren't able to meet as a staff and dive into those number further to see, why we remain flat or what indicators might be there, but no red flags, so.
And we looked at this as an elementary staff. I think that, what generally the elementary staff continues to say is thank you to the preschool and kindergarten and first grade teachers because you're doing the hard work that makes it easier when they have all these great foundations as they move up. So I think that's where we see our greatest growth, right, is in the K-1 areas for both literacy and math. And we've been just talking about the specific cohorts kind of in more detail than what this will provide. And talking about, you know, you heard that little story during the celebration of learning about how we really help out those kids when they come to us really late in the game. And so we're trying to really talk specifically about specific intervention plans for kids, which you can't see in this data, but I think in the long run does help.
In the middle school, you might see similar trends. There are areas to celebrate. Eighth grade, as a cohort, made some substantial progress in my mind for looking at proficiency bands in math. But if you look at other grades, there's some seeming winter doldrum, lag. So to give an example of the kinds of questions that we ask ourselves when we're looking at that, we look at the first trimester. Remember, the middle school is in 3 trimesters. And there's a huge amount of geometry covered in that first trimester, leaving them in some ways by winter maybe unprepared for other types of questions that then gets covered in the middle of the year, and we expect to see a pretty nice bump in the spring. And again, similarly, looking at our ELA proficiency bands, there was some decent progress, specifically 6th, 7th grade. And we're asking questions that are all related to the delivery of EL as a new curriculum. We were given the caveat when we went down that path that in general, 2 to 3 years of implementation with fidelity is when you really start to see the biggest gains. But we predict seeing some gains by spring. We've had 2 classrooms running the same curriculum with 2 different experiences. One, a teacher who's been there since day one, and the second, a couple of teachers had to swap out, as you know, due to a tragedy in one of their lives. So digging even further, is there a difference between delivery of instruction, or are both classes relatively the same? Remember, we did have a licensed teacher who had been through the training step in. We're just asking those kind of deeper questions. What accounts for that mid-year lull?
Any questions? Thank you.
Please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have questions after sitting with this for a moment. You ask what are the questions we're working through, or what we predict, or how we're addressing. Data is something that tends to, you sit and marinate for a while. Right?
Okay, we have Tara's report in our packet.
Tara's not moved on yet. Just the Sharon board has been monopolizing her time the last 3 months. So you've been getting more time with me, walking you through your budget, but she's trained me well. So these are her monthly reports. We're gonna go over the budget here in a minute, along with corresponding revenue, and I'll talk to you about where some adjustments have been made in the expenditure budget and the revenue budget. And she may or may not be here tonight.
Got both my W-2s, so.
Good.
Okay, student representatives? Nothing? Okay, Jack, thank you for being here. And policy committee, readings on policies C-33 and C-36.
Yes, So we have discussed these previously, I pulled them up on my computer. Well, my computer woke up, but, so the C-33 is the K through 8 intra-supervisory union transfer. And then, of course, 36 is the behavioral threat assessment team. Thank you. I'm cheating, I'm looking at yours because I don't have it pulled up. So we have discussed these already. I don't know if anything's come up since our last discussion as far as questions, concerns, things to bring back to policy committee, the full committee. But I'm all ears if there are any.
If not, you'll be the last board to have had several readings. The plan is that we will warn them for adoption at the full board to begin that process next Tuesday.
Okay.
And then it'll come back to us?
Yeah, so you'll take action at the end of next month.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So you have until Tuesday. No, I'm joking. We can also have more discussions, but it would be nice
Actually,
if there are
it-
any notes before then.
It looks pretty good.
Looks great.
You guys have put a lot of work into it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Discussion items, follow up on Act 73 updates.
So, since I saw you all Tuesday, the Secretary of Ed did go in on Thursday afternoon in front of a joint session of House and Senate and essentially provided them with 3 examples of maps. I say examples because they didn't necessarily say, here are the 3 we are proposing. They sort of provided 3 maps, regional supervisory district maps, that essentially for the WRVSU in your district had us either going with essentially from exit 4 at Randolph down through Springfield would be an SD. So that would encompass the Hartford School District, the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union, the Springfield School District, Mountain View Supervisory Union, which is Woodstock, and the OSSD district along with us as one district, which I still think is pretty large for Vermont standards. The other map didn't have us going that far south down to Springfield, had us stopping in Windsor, but going up the 91 corridor through the Rivendell and Orange East SUs. Or the Rivendell School District and the Orange East Supervisory Union. So the Senate and House Ed are talking about those and kind of reacting to those maps this week. The agency didn't provide any hard data on how that would result in efficiencies, meaning by the use of the foundation formula and how that, translates to savings directly. That information wasn't provided during that testimony. The RSCA did testify today, which was very similar testimony to my testimony last week about this idea of requiring CSAs, which are, centralized educational service areas, or BOCES is what's in the current legislation. And so there's discussion around that as a requirement. Meaning, right now, the legislation says that boards can get together and create these types of shared service providers, but that really requires all the different regional boards to come together to form this new entity. The idea being that if we know it's going to help support better programming for special ed services, result in less redundancy around things like professional development and things like bulk purchasing of instructional materials or even facilities materials, and look at could those CSAs go out for transportation bids in a regional area and create some more efficiency that way. There's been talk about, there's a lot of administrative burden placed on principals when we have a significant HHB or Title IX investigation, like the idea being that those seesaws could create some more efficiency of having experts in that area help consult when we have a real complicated case. And as an example there. So I think there's a lot of promise there, but the idea being that those are not taking away local boards' authority, right, to set budgets or hold accountability measures, that ought to be required. And that is what the task force recommended as well. And then from there, look at voluntary mergers that would get us down from the 52 SUs and SDs that we currently have across the state to hopefully a number that makes more sense geographically around creating, more localized partnerships that could also create some better efficiency underneath that seesaw umbrella. I think that one of the things that we need to start thinking about is how else does the legislature go around combating the consistent year-over-year increase demand on the ed fund? So, we know health insurance is a big chunk of that. I'd love them to tackle that. There doesn't, seem to be a lot of idea or strategy to immediately be able to tackle this idea that, health insurance premiums have gone up over 50% in the last 5 years. But they're certainly talking about things like a cap on spending. I think we'll have an opportunity to talk about how do you do that without it having a significant impact on districts that were to lose a few pupils due to things like weights and not necessarily students taught. And how do you create a mechanism with a spending cap that has equity built in it, right? That doesn't immediately result in smaller districts. If a smaller district loses 20 students, it's a much bigger impact to the overall expenditure increase of the per pupil spending versus a district that might have 2,000 students, right? So if you have a district that's operating with long-term weighted average daily membership with students of 400 versus a student of, 2,500, losing 10 students isn't the same. And so how do you have some type of formula built in that protects that? And so I think there's going to be an opportunity to testify in Senate Finance on those parameters, but I don't see us right now being able to get out of this legislative session that doesn't change something in regards to how we do business more regionally, meaning this idea of seesaws being a requirement, and doesn't at least set the movement forward to reduce the numbers of SUs and SDs in the state, and doesn't somehow cap spending. And I would say if that was to happen and it doesn't result in you losing your local school district, that, I need more comment on that and thoughts around that at the SU board level next Tuesday, around how your feelings are around that, because I think it's either going to be we create some parameters like I just described as a state, or they get really serious about drawing maps. And so I'll just need some more direction from the full board around how you want me to go about navigating that as I get to continue to have the opportunity to provide testimony on these things.
So if they made a district that, like you said, went all the way from exit 4 down to Springfield and included Woodstock and Hartford, et cetera, are they expecting that then we would have one high school for that district?
No, I think my sense is when they talk about regional high schools in a district that size, they're thinking 2, at the most 3.
Okay.
And they start to star those high schools on maps. When the task force looked at that, they tried to talk about travel patterns around regional high schools of 30 minutes between the local hub of that elementary school to the regional high school.
Okay.
And so I think that that's probably what you're looking at. in maps like that, Nancy. You know, the minimum class size numbers of 18, there's very few, like only 5 schools in the state that comply with those. And so, you know, when they put that 18 minimum, it was certainly about this idea of much larger regional high schools than what we've ever necessarily, I think, envisioned as Vermonters. But that's the type of scale they're trying to get to, right, in order to make the foundation formula work. So, you know, and those are all things that, you know, as I met with the high school staff on Friday, that we had really realistic conversations around of how do we try to, you know, be a really attractive and high school that results in, you know, more programming and opportunities for kids, and tries to work toward compliance of the minimum class size numbers. I mean, I don't believe that we're gonna, even over the next 3 years, be able to create, unless we have a real influx of the number of students living in your district, and or choosing your district, although the numbers, you know, do continue to go up year over year, to get in compliance with 18. And that's not just us, that's gonna be a majority of high schools in the state.
Did anybody listen to the governor's address to the legislature today?
I did,
the budget?
Yeah, I did listen to that.
Yeah, I did too. And he basically said that he will not sign anything, any educational bills, unless he gets his way on this.
The other thing that is worth noting about the budget in his address, he's talking about $105 million of one-time money to offset increases in taxes. That, you know, I think there is an appetite up there to do that possibly one more time. You know, that is not sustainable year over year. And I had a conversation on Thursday with the Senate Pro Tem about this for quite a long time, Senator Baruth. And, you know, I think that is why there was introduced legislation by him as the Democratic leader to try to get some spending control in place that doesn't necessarily align to the direct drawing of maps. And so, you know, why I say that that's an important note is that I would expect your yield number to actually possibly go up, which will help alleviate some tax pressure that we're seeing in your district. When you look at the budget, it's mostly contributed to the drop in the common level of appraisal in Royalton. But that could help offset that number. I don't see the yield getting worse. I don't see it dropping. I think the yield number, if anything, would go up based on them adding some additional one-time funds. I think that the only way they'll do that is if they know they put some type of provision that a year from now, there will be savings to offset that money that they put in that's already written in legislation, meaning some type of cap.
Okay.
I have a question. You said that they're sort of, you know, potentially starring some high schools that could be these bigger regional schools. Are they even talking like, and we won't have this elementary and this elementary, it's not at that level?
No, if you just look at their maps, you'll start to see where the current high schools are, and you can start to see where they've indicated, you know, travel patterns.
Okay.
But no, they haven't starred elementary schools. I mean, I think the governor is, actually, I would say the legislature and the governor are all very on message around, this isn't about closing schools, and specifically not about closing elementary schools, until they get upset with things. Like the governor was clear after the task force didn't draw maps. He said publicly, in front of news reporters, that we need the larger districts to close our smaller schools and right-size FTEs. That came out of his mouth. So it is absolutely about closing schools and reducing FTEs. But, you know, aside from that, everything that they put into legislation and or indicate in testimony, That's their policy. What they say politically is contrary to that for the most part, unless there's a slip up. There is legislation forthcoming from Representative Hooper, Jay Hooper, tomorrow in front of House Ed, that I've only seen a draft of. It'll be interesting to see what Jay comes out with tomorrow, and I mentioned Jay because he's one of our representatives. He does represent our district in Granville Hancock, and he represents all of OSSD to the north of us. But it is interesting, it essentially indicates at least a support of map drawing, which doesn't seem to have a lot of momentum up there right now. Like if you walk through the halls, I don't think there's many folks that want to draw maps, at least not last week. So it'll be interesting to see whether that gains momentum. I mean, one of the things I would say to the board that I always try to be really optimistic. I would say if a bunch of budgets fail at town meeting, you bet that the maps will start to pick up steam again. And that is one political play that the governor will hold to see how that plays out. I mean, we went through, this all started due to budgets failing during the failed implementation period of Act 127. If you remember, the weights changed in Act 127, and they changed the funding formula in regards to how we calculate weights, and they placed that 5% equalized education tax rate. Your equalized residential tax rate couldn't go up more than 5 in case you lost students, and districts started spending more, which was a real short-sighted approach to this, because I think one gave school boards and education administrators, frankly, like that was just not well played. It didn't create trust. And two, we didn't do that, but then two, that is when the legislature took action to delay votes. And that was the perfect, and then remember all the budgets failed. And so that was the perfect storm that created, I believe, the political opportunity to start this. And so I worry about if district budgets go down in March, that there will be a real opportunity to crank up the heat around map drawing again. Because remember, the foundation formula doesn't require a vote to approve a budget.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
So stay tuned, it's gonna, like I've said, it's gonna be a sprint some days. It's gonna be a marathon in general. And, I think we just kind of take it all in and we just keep doing our work. And, the good news is the RSCA has a really strong voice in Montpelier at the State House right now. And, I'm excited for this Rural Education Day. I think that's gonna be a great opportunity for us to showcase what our kids do, know, understand, and can do next Friday. And I'm glad we're going to be really well represented with almost every school in the SU participating. And so it should be a really good day next Friday. And then, what I will tell you is that there's not any concrete, tangible discussions about controlling these increased health insurance costs. Like, it's been testified to, we talk about it, but I don't see any traction on actually trying to deal with that being one of the biggest drivers to the ed fund in regards to increased spending year over year.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. So, fiscal year 27 budget.
So before we dive into the overall expenditure budget, I just want the board to know, the notion that there was, $400,000 that we could cut from your expenditure budget, without any reductions of FTE, that's not the case. Not without us deficit spending you and, regards to close to 300,000, right? And I don't want to budget that way. So what you're gonna see is an expenditure budget that is down $140,640 without any reduction in FTEs. And the biggest chunk of that is coming from, we did change some books and periodicals and supply line numbers. So like on page 1 of 11, you'll see that underneath 1101 regular ed, underneath 641 books and periodicals, is that we did reduce that number. And then another number that from your last budget to now that's dropped significantly is 1101 562. We had a couple students who were needing to access some specialized programming that were not served via IEPs. And so that's where we would budget for those type of extraordinary cost. We've been able to bring one of those students back into the SU, and then we have a student that actually is going to qualify for an IEP, so that expenditure budget will move over to the special ed budget within the SU budget. And so
Anyway, or because we requested cuts?
one student's already been brought back, and the other student was in the process of a special ed eval.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, pretty much anyway, all right.
So that's how that budget line was able to be adjusted. And then the rest of them, essentially, like I said, it's mostly around general supplies in each department being cut a little bit to a level where, based on previous years, we feel like, that we can manage that based on actuals from the previous years. And, what I would say, I've said this to your teachers and I've said it to the administrators, like, we're just, within this expenditure budget, we're just in a position that we have to make really certain that if there's something special that comes up, like a class trip that we want kids to go on, and or an opportunity for some type of experiential learning that's gonna take us out of state or something like that we haven't already pre-budgeted for, we're gonna need to really sit down and figure out how we're gonna reconcile the budget overall to make something like that happen. Because there's not a budget line that I can go to and say, I know I can reconcile X and make that happen. And the other big part is, our operations and maintenance. Like, we've had some things come up suddenly the last few years, like flooding, or, needing to repair some flooring and things of that nature, like we just did at Royalton that we needed to do. We've been able to do that within the budget and run over costs on operations, and I felt not great about it, but okay about it, knowing that we can reconcile a couple budget lines here. We're now gonna need to then say, well, what are we not gonna do that we had planned to do? That's all. So that's the expenditure budget slide. I mean, the good news about this budget in regards to your expenditure budget is, we've got it down to 8.05% increase year over year. And then I'm gonna go into your revenue budget, and as we start to walk through this, what you're gonna start to see is the real contributor to increased tax rates is purely gonna end up being your CLA, your common level of appraisal. So the change to your expenditure budget is, we budgeted, Principal Oakes and I had met, we went through what you currently have for tuition students at the high school, and also thought and processed the middle school, what you have. We also looked at what we expect coming in for tuition students from First Branch, and what we believe are gonna be tuition students coming into us from Rochester Stockbridge that we've had indicated coming into the middle school. And so we bumped up your budgeted tuition students up to 60. This also takes into account, you have a large senior class that is graduating, meaning large senior class that has choice students enrolled in your district, all right? So we're losing a pretty big chunk of what you currently have for tuition students, but we accounted to what we expect coming to us from First Branch and RSUD. We typically grab a few Sharon students who are attending Sharon Academy at the middle school, but then will re-enter us for us at the high school level. I didn't account them into your tuition numbers because I can't guarantee it, and I have a really hard time being able to get in contact with them once they're at Sharon Academy to see if that's a decision they're gonna make. I'll tell you, we typically gain 2 to 3 students that are Sharon students who are at the Sharon Academy and then join you. And so I expect that that will still happen as well. And so what you see is a tuition budgeted increase of 325,000 from what you saw last week. I still think we're conservative here. I don't think we overstated that number. And my hope is, and why I met with your high school staff is that I really hope that as, you know, we look at the overall, you know, situation that we're having to, you know, deal with and face as a state, that the more we can create attractive programming, grow our high school numbers, and increase revenue, the better we're gonna be able to reinvest into your district, right? And so I think your staff's really committed to that based on conversations we had last Friday. We're also still carrying a $300,000 revenue at the top that you can see from your unassigned fund balance of $347,677, which is essentially 3 pennies on the tax rate. So between the cuts in the expenditure budget and the additional revenue, from last budget to this budget, we were able to find $465,640. That's overall the change, okay? So we were able to offset those staffing cuts by combining these two things. You asked us to try to find the difference of the 4 FTEs. That was just over 400,000. This has been our approach to try to do that.
And this is all doable?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I met with Principal Oakes to try to really dial in those tuitions.
And the administration feels that this is palatable, other than you? And
Yeah, no.
teachers have got buy-in as well? They don't feel that anything harmful was cut?
Well, teachers haven't seen this level of detail.
Okay.
I can say that the mood on Friday was hopeful and positive. Folks are ready to roll up their sleeves. I've had teachers come to me to discuss projects that we have earmarked for this summer and said, oh, I think we can delay this, you know, this, we understand kind of the financial situation. So people are trying to think creatively. They understand the landscape that we're in and ready to do the important work that's in front of us.
To the best of your knowledge, this is going to give them not everything they wanted, but allay their fears about FTE.
Yeah, and the biggest change is really the revenue budget, right? And, you know, that's what I heard their hope of, like, we can attract more students. And I said to them, if you attract more students than we budgeted, that's revenue that then can offset special projects you want to do. Like, I've always said we ought to run public education more like a business, right? Like, if we can generate more revenue, there's more opportunity within that year to reinvest that revenue. And so, I mean, I try to be really transparent with your staff. I said it just like that. Every 4 students is an extra $100,000 that we can reinvest into opportunities for kids and them to do cool opportunities with kids.
Jack, you mentioned, I guess it was at the December meeting, that you had been one of the hosts of kids coming down from FBUD, the Chelsea Tunbridge. Have there been any more instances of that, or did you get any feedback as to whether they decided they wanted to come to the school?
I didn't have it any in writing, obviously, but I follow some of the kids from those schools, and they messaged me after and said they were optimistic and they wanted to pursue coming to our school.
Yeah, that's great. Do we have anything else planned?
So just to piggyback off that, because I asked that question of the students that came that day, and my sense was there was about 7 or 8 pretty strong, yeah, this is where I want to be, from that group of students.
So are we inviting kids from other places also to come for a day like that, to be hosted?
Yeah, we already did Rochester,
Yeah,
Stockbridge.
we do that in the middle school We have done RSUD, one event already. We've reached out to Sharon. And we've hosted a number of students from a variety of areas. And we're looking at how to make that a spring routine, kind of like the reaching out to those beyond just the immediate neighbors. We've had all kinds of questions, right? How to reach out to, is there an opportunity to reach beyond Sharon, to look at more than just Rochester on that side of the mountain?
Yeah. Okay, great. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I was working on the school board's letter that's gonna go in the school report, and I did a little research and saw that US News and World Report ranked our high school as number 10 in the state. And we were the only school anywhere in this area that made that top 10. All the other schools were up north. And I thought that is really amazing. And of course, it's not just the high school, it's because of the foundation that started in pre-K and worked its way up. And so congratulations on that ranking. You already knew that, Shane? Yeah. I think that's something we need to really,
You got your medal on.
yeah, we need to blast that out here. But I would think that would help attract students from other places too. So, anyway, thank you, Jack, thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that, because you're right, when compared to a Linden Institute or CVU, economies of scale and all of that, they're much larger schools and much bigger population densities, and there we were.
Yeah, I
Standing
think
tall.
it's really, really
Thank
exciting.
you for mentioning that.
So Terry, you want to walk them through the tax sheet?
Sure, be delighted to. So we'll start right up at the top corner. Your expenditure budget is $16,358,176. We back out the offsetting revenue of $2,134,542. Gives us an Act 68 education spending of $14,223,634. We divide that by your long-term weighted average, and that gives us the education spending per pupil cost, which is $12,818.24. We then divide that by the yield, and it gives us your equalized residential tax rate of 1.4486. On the Bethel box, we take that equalized residential tax rate, 1.4486. We divide that by the CLA, and these are your actual CLAs. We got them after your last meeting, so you didn't see them before. So Bethel, because they went through the reappraisal, theirs is 149.17%. So the tax rate in Bethel would be 0.9711, which is an increase of 0.0288, which equates to $28.77 per 100,000. And then on the Royalton side, you take that 1.4486, divide it by their CLA, which continues to go down, which now is at 88.67, gives you a residential tax rate of 1.6336. And that is an increase of 0.1983, which equates to $198.34 per 100,000 of property value. So overall, right above that, you'll see that the fiscal year 27 equalized tax rate in comparison to the fiscal year 26 equalized tax rate is an overall increase of 0.0233 or 1.63%.
So before, that's an important thing, so right?
Before CLA.
Before the CLA, the tax rate would only be going up 1.63%. And, you know, in order to combat the CLA in Royalton, you know, this is not, I mean, Tara does a really good job of telling you what a penny is, so it's 98,192. So in order to combat that, you know, difference of essentially the 17 cents, you would take 17 cents and multiply it by 98,192, and that's, you know, you're looking at a $1.6 million decrease in order to make up the difference of the CLA drop.
Wow.
Like that's, we can't do that, right? Like, that's my point. Like, this is what I see, when people are saying Montpelier needs to fix something, I believe they are saying we need to fix the funding formula, right? Like, the local decisions you make aren't having a direct impact on your actual taxes necessarily, right? Things like that happen. And so, those are the challenges, right, that we face. And I think that's also hard for people to follow, right? Like, how can that doesn't even make common sense. Like, what are you talking to me about? Like, the CLA dropped, and that results in a $1.6 million need to make up in a local district budget. Thanks.
When are they due to finish their reappraisal?
I don't even know if they've started. Peggy, have they started? Or David, maybe you know?
Yeah, no, they have started. I think they plan on finishing at the end of this year.
So then hopefully next year, we're not going to be faced with this craziness
Yeah,
again.
the CLA shouldn't be as big an issue.
Peggy, when you say this year, you mean calendar year or fiscal year?
Um,
I'm joking, but I'm not.
assuming fiscal year.
Okay.
All I know is they wanted to have it done in '26, so that.
Okay. I was gonna say, I
It
know I
might
saw them
mean
on
they
the
have to
plan.
have it finished by April. I don't know, because that's when your taxes are determined for the next year.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I mean, so my curiosity would be going forward, and it's not a question we have to answer right at this minute, but just our messaging when people are saying, so why that increase, and just helping to sort of boil that down for, folks who are not reading these.
I mean, I think the easiest thing to say is that what's in your control is only going up 1.63%.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that is the messaging. And I think you also say it's not that Bethel's getting a break. Their CLA didn't drop as much. So why they're seeing a tax sheet that says Bethel's is only going up $28.77 versus $198 is Bethel's been reassessed and their CLA's higher versus Royalton that hasn't.
And of course, last year it was just the opposite. Bethel paid more than Royalton.
And everyone still pays, because if you're reassessed, typically your property value goes up, right? But you pay at a lower tax rate. So I think focusing on the actual equalized tax rate takes all that part out. Like, what you can control as a board, meaning your expenditures, your revenue, your Act 68 spending. You don't even get to necessarily control what your pupil counts are, right? Like, those weights all adjust year over year. But still, that even gets caught up in your equalized tax rate. Your equalized tax rate is only going up 1.63%. That's what you control. You don't get to control CLA.
Yeah.
One of the things that people don't necessarily realize is that with the reappraisals, yes, the tax rate went down. House values, in most cases, probably went up.
Right.
So the taxes, the end result of the taxes is still going to be a chunk of change.
Yep.
It's just kind of disguised because the CLA, because Royalton hasn't assessed, so they get the penalty for not having assessed. But Bethel has assessed, but their property values more than likely went up.
The thing is, though, if everybody's property values have gone up, then, I don't know, my taxes did not go up horribly with the reassessment. I think,
That's good.
Yeah, I think maybe
a lot of it
$100 a year or
depends on
something.
How your house, do you have an average? Some houses improved more than the average, so their taxes would go up in the end. Some houses stayed average, so their taxes would be about the same. And there were houses that deteriorated, so their taxes would be lower than everybody having to do the high rate. It's now more fair. with
Yeah.
reassessment. But it's a pain in the butt for everybody to understand, and Jamie's right, we need to focus on that 1.63 increase in the tax rate,
Yeah.
which is well below what the governor was predicting for budgets.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
Just thank you for bringing this back. I know that originally, the idea of cutting FTEs or RIFs, that didn't just come out of nowhere. We did discuss that. So I know that's the reason we were looking at those budgets. And, I know I was a stick in the mud, but I also said, now that I'm really looking at the numbers, I just didn't see the cost benefit there. So I really appreciate you guys coming back with more and dealing with the pains in the butt.
No, you're doing your job.
You're exactly, it's not a button, but
Yeah.
knowing what your job is.
Okay, next on the agenda is the annual warning.
So Tara can show that to you, and then you can take action. I mean, the warning does rely just on you actually approving the budget, because you can't approve the warning,
Move to approve the budget that we were presented with.
so we'll just need the number. So Tara can give you the,
So the motion would be to approve the fiscal year 2026, 2027 budget in the amount of $16,358,176.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Calvin, I'm gonna send you a revised warning than what I sent earlier today, because I've updated the budget article. I'll send it to conference.
sorry, it's not a paper printout, but Tara will walk you through the warning.
No, and then I gotta have one of the principals print it, so you can sign it. Because I can't print here.
I can do that.
Wording is such an odd wording. Eek. Not like there's a bear in your yard or something.
Knock on wood, in case it gets warm again. I didn't see a single bear all
I had a
year
bear
long.
and 2 cubs in my yard.
Every 9 years I've seen bears every year, at least a few of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
This year, not even more. I think it's my neighbors are seeing them also, they're like, their house smells like.
At 4 in the afternoon with 2 little cubs about that big.
Has it come to you yet?
Looking for a bird feeder, I think, because I had a bird feeder
conference?
once before.
We had one on North Main Street.
Yeah.
We have a metal dumpster.
Pierre, I
that's
sent
like-
it to you at the
I
same
know,
time,
like
so
this
as long
much
as they
longer.
approve this as written,
We
then we
started
can
putting
print it,
a metal
otherwise I'll
chain
have to
over
send
it.
you a different one.
So instead of trying to open it,
So, hold
it
on.
knows
Hold
that
on.
it can like stand on the wood and
Yeah.
collapse and it'll break.
If they approve this version,
So
then
like
we're
we'll,
good to go.
like, he'll do it, he's actually tipped it over and it's a big size, it's incredible. I know like when I have to pick it up in the mornings, but
She comes up and then she goes back down to the creek, because I'm right by the creek, so it's like up and down, and I see the path through the brush. Everything's all squashed.
Could you go a smidge bigger?
So the introductory paragraph is saying that we're gonna meet on March 2nd, 2026 at the Bethel campus, because we were in Royalton last year. Article 1 is to elect a moderator. Article 2 is to elect your school district clerk. Article 3 is to elect your school district treasurer. Article 4 is to hear and act upon the reports of the board. Article 5 is to fix your salaries in the amount of $600. Article 6 is to set the treasurer's salary at $1,200. Article 7 is to authorize you to borrow, which is your tax anticipation note. Article 8, shall the voters of the school district approve the school board to expend $16,358,176, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. The White River Unified District estimates that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in per pupil education spending of $12,818.24, which is 4.62% higher than per pupil education spending for the current year. Article 9 is to transact any other business. Article 10 is to adjourn to the next day. For Article 11, which is your ballot vote for Royalton Director and a Bethel Director. Then the voting language, and then your signatures.
That's good.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
So moved. To approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You're looking
thank
for
you.
2 copies, so.
Just
what,
need one, if you can make sure it's not double-sided, though.
Got it. I'm glad you said something.
I know, I always have to change my
Okay.
default.
Next on the agenda, public comment. Rebecca, do you have anything to say?
I was really here to listen. I will make a couple quick comments. I'm Rebecca Stone. I'm also up there.
I noticed that. Just trying to figure
My
that out.
family. So one quick procedural one. I would just encourage folks, if it might be you, I'm not sure who, is managing admissions to the room to please check frequently. I'm here in person because we tried to join for 20 minutes and couldn't get let in.
Oh.
And that's happened multiple times when I've tried to join remotely. So I don't know how that process works, but my family is listening from home, I think, so there are more people in there. One from the Bethel Town Meeting and Community Engagement Committee, which I serve on. We are always really excited at trying to increase attendance and help people make informed choices about both officer voting and what's happening in floor meetings. We do a lot with Bethel Town Meeting, and this year have decided we're going to host what is, for practical purposes, a candidate forum on Sunday, February 8th. We're gonna make it a lot more fun though and host it at Cockadoodle Pizza. So free pizza dinner, come out, socialize, get to know folks. So anyone who submits a petition to the Bethel Town Office for school board, for any of the positions, will find out about this, but wanna make sure that Royalton candidates do as well. And we invite candidates for any position to come, and it'll be quite informal, a chance to introduce yourselves, share who you are, we'll do some question and answer, and let folks get to know each other.
And what was the time on that?
Time to be determined. We had
Okay.
originally set it for evening and then realized we're all hopelessly out of the loop because apparently it's Super Bowl Sunday. So we're looking at moving that up earlier in the day so that
That's
everyone can
probably
actually be home to watch football at the right time. But stay tuned, we'll let you know about that. We're also excited, the White River Valley Herald is now partnering with us on this as well. We've for years said, wouldn't it be great if we could collect just quick information on all the candidates, put it out publicly so that people have a chance before they arrive at the polls to know who it is they're voting for. So Tim Calabro at the Herald has taken that on for the whole White River Valley, and any candidate submitting to any of the town clerk's offices will get a little flyer just saying, please go to the Herald website, fill out quick candidate info, and submit it. So
Would you happen to know when petitions are due?
I would, yes, it is Monday,
The-
January 26th.
That's what I was thinking,
That's
okay.
next
Yeah,
Monday,
6
yes, one more
Mondays
week
prior.
to get petitioned in. So.
We have
encourage
two
everyone.
of us here, but apparently Ed is not taking out papers. I do have papers that I still need to get all the signatures, but,
Great. And as you all shape up plans for the school meeting portion, if you want to let us know, we want to help get the word out about that as well. We offer ride sharing options, sign up forms for people who need it. I think in the past, you've offered childcare, dinners, things like that. So if you let us know the details, we're happy to put that out. And I guess my final comment is just to thank all of you. Jamie, your advocacy on all of these issues has been amazing. To the school staff, I can't imagine how stressful this is for all of you, trying to do everything you do on a day-to-day basis and keep this going. And board members, I really appreciate all your thoughtful work and hard work, trying to manage everything happening at the state level as well as everything you do day to day.
okay. New hires, resignations?
I had a comment that I wanted to make.
Yes.
If this was in regards to the capstone projects,
obviously I was not able to go see any of them, including my granddaughters today. But I have gotten to know several seniors, and I was kind of disappointed in that some of those seniors did not receive any mentors or guidance until last week. I had one girl in particular, I was trying to help find her a mentor once I found out 2 weeks ago that she didn't have anybody. And then last week, she finally told me she had a mentor. So, it's kind of hard in some of those cases. I think there were kids who didn't have mentors or didn't have a lot of mentoring that really, I think that made capstone projects pretty tough. And I think that's something that we need to get help on, is making sure we have mentors for these kids.
Thank you, Peggy. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you,
that.
Peggy.
We do another public here.
Oh, yes.
He didn't raise his hand, I just,
Oh, okay.
not sure if they knew it was public comment.
It's
Are you
public
talking about David?
Yes.
That's our attorney.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's
I knew
waiting
that.
for us, okay.
I knew that,
Um,
obviously,
Yeah, really. And I can't see a thing, so.
I mean, David might have public comment.
I mean, he could.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to mention about the capstone projects too. I did make it to one of them today, and it was wonderful, and I'm gonna be there all day tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, but Thursday I can only go to one. But, yeah, it's wonderful. Very exciting stuff. Any other public comment? And, we already said no new hires, no resignations. We're going to be going into an executive session. Could I have a motion to go into executive session?
For privileged and confidential attorney-client communication, inviting in the administration.
Yes. So do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor? Aye. See you guys later. We have to have a motion to come out of the executive session
With no action.
with no action.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, okay. And do we have any other business that we needed to? Future agenda items?
We'll have to just do some finalized planning around our annual meeting.
So I'll start working on the actual presentation, probably towards the end of the first week of February, beginning of the second. And then I share that out with all of you as a whole, for you to go through, make any suggestions, any edits that you want to it. And this is a Google presentation that we actually put up on the screen during the meeting for those that are new.
Okay. Okay, our next meeting date is Tuesday, February 17th at Royalton, or at least that's our next scheduled meeting. And motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Out of
This is
here.
my job, is to say.